The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Blake Anderson, cryptographic economist.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me on tonight's episode.
Jimmy Song, Bitcoin developer.
Thanks for having me on.
Tone Vays from Liberty Life Trail.
Hey, everyone. Good to be back. Missed a week.
Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Hello and welcome, Bitcoin world.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network, reminding you all to give us a thumbs up and celebrate my birthday. Moving on to issue 1. Oh, and check out our new lower thirds. Thank you, Google. Issue 1, massive ransomware attack hits 99 countries. Software released by the NSA as part of the Vault 7 spy tools has affected more than 99 countries, including the National Health Service, Federal Express, attacking in Russia, Ukraine, and Taiwan, locking up the computers with ransomware, crypto locker, forcing them to pay $300 in Bitcoin. Blake Anderson, once again, is it Bitcoin's fault for this incredible spread of ransomware?
Yeah, it's Bitcoin's fault. We need to attack Bitcoin viciously and get some kind of revenge here. I don't know what Bitcoin was thinking when it was doing all this stuff, but I mean, come on. But I mean, there's a deeper culprit here too. I mean, the internet, electricity in general at large. I mean, we need to shut this stuff off in a hurry. Our stuff is just going to start getting, really out of control. I think it's interesting. It seems like a lot of the attack focused on Russia, Japan, and Taiwan, and those places, I think, do not have as stringent ITIL compliant risk management standards as some of the big US companies do. They're going to have like an software auth server. They're going to have a specific image that they're running in different business units. They're not going to make modifications to that secure image until they know not only the software coming in has been vetted, but like there's multiple echelons of protection against just having non-vetted software going into your stuff. And any company, like, I'm really surprised that FedEx didn't have their stuff tight enough to protect against this. But it's also not just your typical, hole. It's an unpatched hole that was actually, used and scripted into various tools that were used by ABC agencies. So this is not good. Hopefully, everybody upgrades your stuff and that keeps you secure. But there's issues and software glitches that people can have that make updating difficult because they've already got so much spyware and stuff. It's not always easy to get your machine to a secure baseline of exactly all the most updated stuff. I mean, most people are not power users, so definitely try to update your Microsoft Windows session whenever it tells you there's a security update, and if not, you're not secure. So at home, take the precaution of updating, and at work, get an image that you're running off of that you can support, and then stick with that, and then make changes to it when you're ready. Because to just let these kinds of bugs in is not good. Also, what could have happened is that at Federal Express or at these places, they may have had security that was an image that they were not ready yet to patch to the next iteration, which would have secured this hole. Because they were not moving forward without vetting all this stuff, they may have been too slow and been vulnerable to it. So there's two different ends of the spectrum where you can be vulnerable to this stuff, and it seems like that's what the criminals were aiming for when they went for places like Russia, Japan, and Taiwan. So it seems like maybe they know what they're doing. It seems like a little bit bigger issue than I thought at first before I saw the metrics start to come in, and it doesn't sound good. So make sure that you have the software installed that people that are trying to support you assume is the baseline, that they assume is that you have all the up-to-date infrastructure that you need for them to continue to provide you software that works in a secure fashion.
Jimmy Song.
Yeah. First of all, this thing has like the best name ever, WannaCry, right? Like that's just a brilliant name for any sort of like Anyway, part of what Blake said, it's in these countries that may or may not be using a lot of pirate software, and they might not have access to some updates, so that might be it. But I mean, essentially, this brings up the same old security issues that have been around forever. You have to sort of trust the vendor that provides you with the OS that you have. Sometimes their keys can get compromised, and you might have vulnerabilities by turning on updates. Who knows? So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that this helps people learn the benefits of open source software. If you have Linux on your computer, you probably weren't getting forced to pay money to some hacker somewhere. Really, though, this whole story is more about the NSA than Bitcoin. It's more about how they had a bunch of 0 days that got released. They weren't careful with it, and that ended up causing this. And really, ransomware existed before Bitcoin, and I don't think Bitcoin is really the issue at hand here. And hopefully what this does is it encourages people to focus on security. Security is very important for any OS, and it's possible. I mean, you're sort of trusting a lot of people that are creating the software for you, which is why it's so important to use open source software.
Can I jump in really quick? I forgot about something else. There's also a specific targeted attack going on against well-known Bitcoiners. David Dicini, I think, or Dicini, is he was just attacked the other day. Somebody contacted him directly after rerouting his SMS two-factor, and they sent him direct messages saying, "Hey, give me your Coinbase account, or you're never going to get into your stuff again, bro." And he didn't have anything in his Coinbase account, which was nice. And so he could tell the guy, to pound sand. But also be wary of that. If you are using SMS-based two-factor authentication, you might want to upgrade to a non-SMS-based system, like really, really, really fast, especially if you're somebody like, Joby Weeks or somebody that's famous that people that know, have Bitcoin.
Excellent advice. You should always be careful and probably keep your coins in a Trezor or Ledger or cold storage, something like that. Tone Vays.
Or you can be like Tone Vays, who doesn't believe in two-factor authentication because he hates it. That's another way to get around this problem. I know, I always piss off Thomas every time I say that. Hey, can someone just explain to me, because I'm an idiot, how is the NSA involved in this?
They had a huge, they're collecting vulnerabilities, right? So they can break into computers, et cetera, et cetera. And somehow they all got leaked. So there's a huge pile of what used to be their greatest secrets that now everyone can have.
They're like super tools.
Oh,
like a script kiddie. Before, a script kiddie was like, I got some of this crap that people online piece together, and I'm going to get a virus from using it. But when you get the FBI's tools, that's not a good thing for people to be getting a hold of those.
That's why you need to upgrade your Windows box, Tone. Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. I was just saying. I think I'm finally downloading like Windows updates. I haven't done that in like a year and a half. I have a very different view on security than most people, but it's worked for me.
You don't have any. Yeah.
That's true. That's exactly right. Like I don't have any security, and I also don't store anything important because I don't care. I only care about that my Bitcoin is safe, and that's about it. And I don't keep it with any third parties or anything like that. Okay, so I love the story even more now. This is great. It just shows you what the NSA does, and it shows you how the government is always involved in getting all of our tech companies not to secure our data for us so they can put together these backdoors. I love it when these backdoors are leaked. I was a huge supporter of the fappening when all of the celebrity nude photos got leaked. I was telling everybody to download, because that's the kind of stuff that maybe creates some importance for companies and for people of what it means to secure their data. Now, again, I'm the exception, right? I don't secure my stuff because I don't care. I let it get leaked. But as far as like Apple's concerned, as far as Google's concerned, Microsoft's concerned, they have to give us security. They can't just like listen to the U.S. government and open up all of these back doors for them. And
this was patched. This was avoidable.
Yeah, and one last comment on this. Just want to point out, because Jimmy said that ransomware existed. let me close this first. Ransomware existed before Bitcoin, and I just want to show that as proof. I love this picture. I took it from a presentation by Mikko Hyppinen of F-Secure. It was an awesome presentation. He talked about the AIDS virus, the AIDS Trojan, actually, from 1989, which encrypted your computer and requested a $378 payment in cash send to Panama. So it looks like the prices haven't even changed. It was $180 for a year or $378 lifetime. Right now, they're only requesting $300. So this goes right in the face of anyone talking about inflation. If this $378 from '89 was inflation adjusted, it would be a lot higher. So you should be happy that prices, that these crypto locker people have now been adjusting for inflation since 1989.
And they should likely just pay him. Jeffrey Jones, your thoughts on the malware?
All right. Well, a lot of great stuff has been said, and I agree with definitely most of it. Really great stuff. But for me, this is the end result of the three-letter agencies having little to no oversight, right? This is what you get when you put unlimited money with no oversight. We get mass spying, plus the software of mass destruction getting leaked for the whole world to use. I mean, this thing is massive. This is like 75 countries. 50, this is the end result of them not notifying the public about these 0 days soon enough. This is the end result of them not being responsible enough to keep these from getting leaked, from getting stolen, and shown to the entire world, right? And now they're blaming Bitcoin, right? I mean, this is classic deflection. This is classic deflection because ransomware, like you guys have been saying, has existed before Bitcoin. And apparently, as Tone says, they haven't adjusted for inflation. So, they're not even that smart of finance people. But they know code, and this is the end result of this kind of stuff. I mean, and I also want to say that this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of what's going to happen. Many of us on the World Crypto Network have warned about this for a while now. Bitcoin is going to just wipe through the security of this planet like we've never seen before. This is what's going to happen because we're using technology now where you can actually route value without censorship. Combined with a society of technology that's completely behind the times, combined with horrible security, combined with Windows people. This is a match for destruction here. So very important public service announcement. Like you guys gotta back up. You guys gotta update your security. Back up and update now. Make sure your Bitcoin is in a hardware wallet off the internet. But this is what we have to do. We have to upgrade. We have to learn, and we have to hodl. Everybody hodl.
Excellent points. And we'd also like to thank our 200 or so live viewers. It looks like everyone's pushing the like button and the share button. On to the exit question. Exit question, the morality issue. Is it immoral to hack the National Health Service? Is it immoral to shut down a hospital if you're a hacker? Is Blake with us? Not sure.
Yeah, can you hear me? My
camera
is taking. I don't want to bother it while it's doing that. Yeah.
All right, seems like we've lost Blake. Let's go to Jimmy Song. Is it immoral to hack the National Health Service?
Well, of course it's immoral. I mean, the people that are doing this, let's not mince words. They're evil people, right? They're trying to extort money from people, but like I said before, they existed beforehand. There are new avenues of doing it, and that's okay. That's okay. I mean, like, if you have sound money, people are going to want more of it, and this is what Bitcoin is. It's sound money. People want it, and it's a way for them to get value. But let's not mince words. These are evil people, and they deserve to be in jail.
Blake Anderson, you back with us? Silence. All right, let's go to Tone Vays. Something happened to Blake's computer. Maybe it was Windows.
Well, you're making an assumption that these people knew exactly what agency they were attacking with the ransomware, and I don't think that's the case. I think they just, they just do it randomly, and it's not. They probably don't even know who's paying them. They just, have an access key, and then they provide the access key. So assuming that they're purposely going after these things, I mean, I don't assume that. I mean, I just it's unfortunate, and I don't really. I mean, unless one of these companies specifically says that that was the target, then we can talk about whether it's moral or immoral. But at the moment, I'm looking at it as random. It's just like that was just the most vulnerable system, and they probably didn't even know who they were attacking. But once the system is attacked, like any attacker, they can't show weakness after the fact, because then everyone else is going to take advantage of them. So they have to stick to it, and they only unencrypt with the ransom, after the payment.
I was hoping we'd find a hacker with a heart of gold, Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. I mean, you can invoke morality in here if you want, but I mean, if you looked at this objectively, you can just see that this is the end result of circumstances. This is, you put Bitcoin, this resistant value transfer mechanism, combined with this horrible security that we have, and especially in healthcare and hospitals and things like that, running like Windows NT kind of stuff. I mean, this is the recipe that you get. And so this, like I said, this is just the beginning. So is it moral? I mean, obviously it's not good. It's definitely not good. But will it be a net positive? Who knows? We need more hacks like this so that people can learn from these mistakes, and so we don't have to keep learning these lessons in the future. Bitcoin is here to stay, and that's not changing. So upgrade your security.
It's certainly immoral to shut down a hospital to take away their power or their computers or their ability to help people, but there is a hacker argument to be said for the weakest security will get hacked first under any scenario. And unfortunately, that's often going to be hospitals, governments, schools, places where they don't spend enough money on their security, which, as Vortex and others have been saying here, it's going to go up and up and up. Everything is going to be hacked that can be hacked, and they're probably going to ask for a Bitcoin ransom, by the way.
Absolutely.
Moving on to issue 2, Litecoin activates Segwit. Segregated witness, the controversial Bitcoin scaling proposal, was activated this week, but not on Bitcoin, on Litecoin. The new change allows the Lightning payment network to be activated on Litecoin and also solves Litecoin's non-existent scaling problem. Litecoin's price, which had already risen considerably, continued to rise on this positive technical news. Jimmy Song, has Litecoin surpassed Bitcoin? Is Litecoin the future of payments?
No, Litecoin has not passed Bitcoin. Litecoin is an altcoin like so many others, and it's an interesting platform to test segregated witness. I saw that Lightning Network was doing some transactions there, and this is a great test bed, right? There are some security differences with the Lightning Network that's maybe not exactly the same as sort of Bitcoin transactions, and we need to prove this out a little bit and figure out where the vulnerabilities might be and what you need to do, and how often people try to screw each other on these Lightning networks and things like that. So this is a great test bed, but I mean, it's still an altcoin. It's not going to be taking over anytime soon. I mean, if the scaling debate doesn't resolve itself for a long time, I still don't think Litecoin will take over anytime soon. It's a great test bed, though. It's a great test bed.
It's not time to start petitioning retail stores to accept Litecoin?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Tone Vays.
I agree with Jimmy. I mean, Litecoin is a good testnet right now. Unlike all of the other altcoins, the pump and price of Litecoin makes sense to me. I remember about a month or 2 months ago when everything else was pumping and Litecoin didn't budge at like $3. I was questioning that. I'm like, that made no sense. Why isn't Litecoin pumping? It's the only one that deserves a price rise because of Segwit. It finally did. It finally pumped in the price. It makes total sense. People are going to speculate on the fact that Bitcoin may never get Segwit, and Litecoin already has Segwit, and Lightning is already being tested out on it, which is actually amazing because I clearly remember Roger Ver telling me personally and on camera that even with Segwit, Litecoin is over a year away after Segwit. And and it sounds like that was complete bullshit because Litecoin, Lightning is already working. And what makes matters worse is what he told me and everyone, because he even said it on camera, that this came from blockchain.info developers who said this. And this only, validates the fact that I have been calling blockchain.info one of the worst Bitcoin wallets for years now, because back in the day it failed me horribly. So ever since then, I never trusted that wallet. So this is good. Hopefully, it'll take us one step closer to getting Segwit on Bitcoin, which I think we will eventually get. So, but yeah, for now, good for Litecoin. I'm happy that Segwit is being proven that Segwit is a stable code base.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. Like Tone said, I mean, this was the only coin really that deserved a pump. I mean, this was great for longtime Litecoin holders. I mean, it was $4, $3 forever. Meanwhile, these things were just going up. It was just ridiculous. I mean, people like Tone and myself were just like, what the hell? What's going on here? We need to pump the actual coin that has value. And I'm just loving it. Like, this is to me, Litecoin is kind of the closest altcoin that there is to Bitcoin. Like it's like such akin to Bitcoin, compared to things like Ethereum and things like that. There's only a few small changes of Litecoin. The reason for that, because, Charlie Lee didn't want to add all sorts of additional features. He didn't want to add all different things. He wanted to experiment. And he didn't do it for money. He didn't do it for fame. He did it to experiment. And so this is what we have. We have this amazing experiment that is Litecoin. And a lot of people have hypothesized that like Litecoin could maybe be a perfect companion to Bitcoin for small and small instant payments or small fast payments. But I mean, for Lightning to do that, or for Litecoin to do that, it needs Lightning as well. Like Litecoin couldn't even do that alone. Like Litecoin needs scaling as well, just as bad as Bitcoin does. And now that we have Segwit on Litecoin, I mean, man, we can do some amazing experimentation, because we've already seen the very first Lightning payment completed over Litecoin, right? And it was sent from like Zurich, it was to London. I think it was across the planet for almost instant. It was instant for almost no fee, absolutely almost no fee. It might as well have been free. And so this is the technology that we can experiment with, and we're seeing these things proven now out in the wild, and it's going to be really fun to watch them scale, because obviously that was just the first payment, right? That was a great experiment, but we really need to see it out in the wild and working and live. And Litecoin, as Jimmy pointed out, like it makes an absolutely amazing test net for Bitcoin. But it's more than that as well. Of course, it's its own thing as well. But I mean, absolutely beautiful when you compare it and combine it with. When you pair it and combine it with Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, I don't see Litecoin going anywhere, and I see this as awesome for Litecoin.
Exit question: will Litecoin Segwit adoption and price rise inspire Bitcoin to adopt segregated witness? Jimmy Song.
Well, first of all, Litecoin price has gone up and down. I think it's interesting because it activated basically yesterday, and it started to come down since then. I don't know if that was like traders sort of like playing on people that would buy right after that happened, or where the price is going to go. That said, it really depends on how segregated witness performs, and we can't really answer that until the tech has been proven over some months. If it does really well, and like there's a lot more demand for transactions on Litecoin, maybe that inspires some of the miners to say, hey, let's make this happen, or something like that. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe there's some weirdness in how segregated witness performs. Really, we need to watch and wait and see how it works. I would like to say it would be great if Litecoin had segregated witness and witness, because then you could do cross-chain. That's basically that would basically make it so that you can transfer value from one side to the other, like Bitcoin for Litecoin, without using an exchange. You can just do it directly with another party, and that having a Lightning network on both would allow that sort of interesting exchange. I mean, you're basically getting what you're basically doing what Shapeshift does, but in a trustless way. That would be pretty awesome.
Tone Vays.
So yeah, I think it'll help because it's just the miners. To be honest, it's at this point, I really think it's mostly F2 pool dependent. They were the swing vote. I mean, they're a big vote. They're not like one swing vote. They're like, you know, they're a huge. They were a huge chunk of the Litecoin mining network, and they're a huge chunk of the Bitcoin mining network. And I think F2 pool will have a lot to do with Segwit adoption on Bitcoin. And I think this will help because if they see everything good happening with Litecoin, F2 pool will switch, and that would put a lot of pressure on Bitmain. And we've already seen via BTC asking Twitter questions whether the community wants Segwit or not, and it was an overwhelming yes vote with like 87% of the vote. So yeah, I think it'll help a lot.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to say no. It's absolutely going to help get segregated witness not only accepted on Bitcoin, I mean, just socially too. We're going to be able to see, look, guys, how can you deny these transactions? How can you deny these statistics? You know, this is just mathematics. And so, yeah, it's definitely going to help get Segwit activated on Bitcoin.
It helps, but still not this year. Moving on to issue 3. Issue 3. Bitcoin price explosion. The price of Bitcoin in South Korea is more than 12% higher than any other exchange at around $2,070. Meanwhile, GBTC, Barry Silbert's investment trust, was trading as high as 80% above the price of Bitcoin. Why is there such a spread in the price? Tone Vays, is Bitcoin more valuable in South Korea or in the stock market?
Okay, so a lot of factors go into this. All right, so South Korea, which is literally right next to China, in China it's being traded at like 10 to 15% below average, and then in South Korea it's being traded like 10 to 15% above average, and that's why we have the average basically. So the exchanges in China, I guess, are a little more restrictive. Korea, again, I don't know the specifics, but each exchange has its own pool of liquidity. This goes back into the problem of why these things happen in the first place, and that's because unlike the traditional stock market, in the world of Bitcoin, your exchange is also your broker. In the traditional markets, you have an exchange, and then you have brokers that compete for trades into that exchange. In the Bitcoin space, you have a broker and an exchange all in one. So it has to do with a lot of things. It has to do with the demand in that country. It has to do with the regulation in that country. And it has to do with confidence in that exchange. So basically what happens is when an exchange has its first sign of trouble, the price tends to go up because people are demanding Bitcoin because it's usually easier to withdraw the Bitcoin. And then when the Bitcoin withdrawals have a bit of an issue, then all of a sudden it flips. And now people want to sell that Bitcoin, take the cash, because then at least there is a chance to get the cash back. So it's just all these weird dynamics. Now, as for Barry Silbert ETF, I'm going to talk a lot more about it on my financial blog, video blog, but I'll briefly mention it. Is that this is why I'm a bad trader sometimes. On Monday morning, I was really gonna load up my retirement fund in GBTC, but on Monday morning it opened on a gap, so I said, maybe I'm not gonna buy it, and it was only like 157, and then it went all the way to 250, and I was bullish Bitcoin. I just didn't jump on it. So GBTC is worse than any of those exchanges as far as liquidity goes. The liquidity at GBTC is incredibly constrained. I don't understand how the SEC allows GBTC to be openly traded. If they don't allow the Winklevoss to have an ETF, what they're doing is they're giving Barry Silbert a monopoly on the Bitcoin ETF. And it's a constrained supply. So the only way you're buying the GBTC is if someone that has already spent 1 year inside Barry Silbert's trust wants to sell it. So it's an over-constrained supply. And we've already seen instances with over-constrained supplies, like Dash with its stupid master nodes and Steemit, when it was all powered up and people couldn't sell it right away. So when you have a constrained supply and a little bit of demand can drive prices enormously up. Now, on the flip side, when panic sets in, the opposite can happen. Also, if the Winklevoss get approved for their ETF, which I don't believe that they will, because I think a Bitcoin ETF is stupid. But on the flip side, at this moment, because of the situation with GBTC, you want there to be competition for Barry Silbert's ETF because it's distorting the freaking market. I personally would rather have the SEC take Barry Silbert's ETF off the table than or just approve the Winklevoss ETF. Now, the reason why GBTC actually has a huge advantage is that you can buy GBTC tax-deferred account, like a self-directed IRA, which is what I trade in, or a Roth IRA, which is even better, because with a Roth IRA, all of your gains are completely tax-free for the rest of your life. And I'm not surprised that the spread is going up again. The next time Bitcoin corrects, that one might correct even faster. But I pointed it out on my podcast that once GBTC kind of almost hit parity with Bitcoin, right after the Bitcoin Unlimited news and after the ETF news and stuff, would have been a perfect time to buy GBTC because I think that spread is going to widen, and it's not healthy for any market. And there'll be people in their retirement funds overpaying for Bitcoin. But there'll be arbitrage opportunities. I'm not sure if you can short that ETF. I know you can't buy options on it. Otherwise, I would have totally taken advantage in the options market because that's what I trade. That's a bit of my specialty.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, so as Tone mentioned, there is just a whole lot of dynamics, a whole lot of complexities that's happening here, a whole lot of things that really it's Tone pretty much explained it all, right? And so for me, the biggest reason is the liquidity. Like Tone said, there's just no liquidity, and it's difficult to get Bitcoin right now. There's like shortage on all sorts of OTC markets with the price. When the price went up, the demand went straight up, and so. It's things like this. Disparities on the Bitcoin price are going to continue as long as as long as Bitcoin is this difficult to get. So, as Bitcoin becomes easier to get, the prices should become a little bit closer around the world. But when you look at all of these countries that are having a major fiat issues, like Venezuela, you can see that the premium on these prices, Venezuela and India, you can see the premium on these prices are huge, and that's not going away. So, and also, South Korea, I mean, you can say that they're into technology as well, from esports to digital currencies. They're kind of with it when it comes to that. But even still, even in a country like that, Bitcoin is still relatively niche and relatively difficult to get. So we'll see what happens with the demand. And we hope that they can get Bitcoin as easy as possible in the future.
Blake Anderson, is Bitcoin more valuable in South Korea or in the stock market?
Well, I mean, I don't know about those two, but I know in general that Bitcoin is going to be pushed around a lot by the factors that are local to where it's being traded. So if Bitcoin is being traded in Venezuela versus Japan and stuff like that, especially if the price is volatile going up and down, then there's lots of arbitrage opportunities. Arbitrage refers to making a series of striking a series of matching deals almost instantaneously that trades money around to get you net increases to 1%, 3%. You can crush out bigger percentages if you are able to make those trades when these big differences occur. And how that's done is you have to actually have multiple currencies loaded up on these exchanges ready to go to make those trades. And that's a lot of fundamental risk, loading up a whole bunch of exchanges planning to make trades which are going to take advantage of this difference. That doesn't mean that it can't be done and that you can't, find some kind of a bot or program cycle where you risk manage low enough to be able to make money off of big enough swings. That can be done, but it's a lot of work, and if you don't watch it closely, you can definitely lose a lot of money in a kind of almost systemic failure, wherein if the exchange goes tits up, or if they take your stuff, or if their government stops them from releasing your funds, that can be dangerous. So arbitrage is really great. It's very, very low risk if you have it all set up and you're about to just do it. So ephemerally low risk, but when you take the full scope of what's needed to rake down arbitrage profits, you tend to get a little bit risky in the Wild West of crypto and loading up these exchanges. Jimmy Song.
Well, I think I'm echoing what everyone else said. It's a lot of demand for GBTC because you can load it up on your own and let it sit there for like 15 years, which is great. Although, like with GBTC, they take like a 2% fee every year, which it actually makes it so that it used to be 1/10 of a Bitcoin. It's now like 9% or something like that. So it does sort of lose money, and Barry makes a ton of money off of that. Good for him. Anyway, as far as Korea, I think I've said this before, but Korea and Japan have very big savings cultures, and they have like lots of investment clubs and things like that. And Bitcoin is a pretty hot investment. A lot of people want it, and there's just sort of a shortage of Bitcoins available there. I'm told that this is the same case in a lot of Latin countries and third world countries where these premiums tend to just aren't enough, people with Bitcoin willing to sell. And part of the reason why there aren't as many arbitrageurs is that you need to open a bank account in these countries in order to get the cash out and then convert it to US dollars. Oftentimes these countries have currency controls, so it's very difficult to get money from that currency back to US dollars and so forth. And plus you have like, foreign currency exchange risks and things like that. But that said, there is a huge arbitrage opportunity out there, especially with Korea right now. It's 15-20%. There's you obviously have to go and find somebody that with a Korean bank account or something. I believe they require like a national ID, so you have to like live there, and it's not easy to do it as a foreigner, for example. But there are enough people in the world that have access to these things that it should be possible.
Yeah, Jimmy, let me just comment on that real quick. I agree with you. The arbitrage opportunity is there, but here's the thing. It is there for someone that's very, very rich, for someone that, has like 40, 50 million, that also understands trading and is willing to throw like, 5 to 10 million at this, because one exchange gets hacked, one exchange goes down, your money gets tied up, and like 6 months worth of arbitrage profits can disappear in a blink of an eye.
Oh, even more than that. The amount of systemic risk that you expose yourself to by loading up the materials that are needed to do this, I mean, and
it's very difficult to do. You need banking relationships in all these countries and a very hostile environment to Bitcoin from the banks, which is why very few people are doing it. And as long as few people are doing it, these distortions will.
Moving on to the exit question. Just this morning, the price of Bitcoin dipped below 1,800. Is the epic rally over? The price of Bitcoin next week, higher or lower? Tone Vays.
I'm going to go with higher. There's not the only thing. The only thing that gives me a pause in the price of Bitcoin right now is that we went above my daily channel, and Thomas is very familiar with that channel. Maybe I'll show my pictures during predictions. So technically speaking, Bitcoin got a little bit on the high side. And if I was looking at Bitcoin in isolation, I would have probably said, it's time for Bitcoin to take a break. But I'm seeing what's going on with the altcoins and the bubble that they're in, which they've gotten way more money poured into them than Bitcoin did. I think this ransomware hack will only Bitcoin on the radar. It's only going to create more demand for Bitcoin. If the government tries to down on Bitcoin, that doesn't mean that the price is going to go down. It just means it's going to go up in the OTC market because people are going to want a bigger premium. I'm not really sure why Bitcoin dropped down to like 1600s just an hour or two ago, but I'm already seeing it back up to 1720 on Stamp, and I can only guess it's like 1750 on Bitfinex. I mean, there's one technical element that makes it a little high, but in general, I haven't seen any FOMO. I haven't seen giant volume in Bitcoin. I'm seeing things like Ethereum and Dash and, God forbid, Ripple and NEM, all this nonsense just like going up exponentially. And I think Bitcoin is fine. I think it still has some room to run. At the worst, it'll like slowly move up to 2000. It doesn't feel like there should be a correction. Meanwhile, the Bitcoin dominance, I guess, is still going down, which is kind of good. I just don't see it.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I mean, as Tone said, we're already pulling back to 1727. I don't see, a lot of people were saying that it might have been this ransomware story that took it down, or possibly, of course, the allowing of fiat withdrawal at Bitfinex this one time. And so that, I'm sure, had a lot to do with it as well. And as always, there's multiple.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hey, Vortex, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean this one-time fiat withdrawal at Bitfinex? Yeah. I don't trade Bitcoin, so I mean, I don't talk about the price, but I don't know the details because like I don't pay attention to any individual exchange. Well, what is that all about?
So yeah, I don't trade either, but of course it comes across my Twitter sphere. I am following Bitfinex, and yeah, they allowed a one-time fiat withdrawal. For right now, it's limited, so you only, I believe, get to withdraw get to do one withdrawal. So that's going to be for right now.
Kind of weird.
Yeah,
$50,000.
How much?
$50,000. You have to withdraw at least $50,000 for this one-time withdrawal.
Oh, okay. So you have to withdraw at least 50s, but so it's only for like bigger players.
Yeah, so that's that's going to be part of it, of course. Like there's always going to be a bunch of factors, but all of these factors, as the rest of the panel pretty much agreed, is not going to be enough to stop this bull run. It's not going to be enough to stop this like multi-year almost bull run at this point. We've been running pretty good now for a while. So in my opinion, like Tone said already, it's already recovering, and also like Tone said in a tweet, Tone posted out a tweet really just pretty much kind of saying that the only people that are selling right now is the weak hands. I mean, that's why there's much more volume in the selling than buying, right? So it's probably just weak hands, and it's not going to last. And so I would say that this rally is not even close to being over, and I'd say we're going to be higher next week.
And the rally continues in our viewers as well. Thanks for pushing the like button. We're now over 300 live viewers. Blake Anderson, higher or lower next week?
I think it's going to be higher next week. I think we had a nice kind of a pullback here, and hopefully we'll get a very short time of stability, and then it will continue to go up. I mean, we have 21 million Bitcoins, 15 million are already gone. A lot of people lost 10,000 Bitcoins and all kinds of stuff that, like, how many of those are spendable? Nobody knows. But we do know, 5 million left. We're getting towards, that. So, long investment horizons in Bitcoin have been very good to me. And I think that long investment horizons in Bitcoin can be very good to you too.
Jimmy Song.
Well, I told you guys last week that the number of Twitter followers that I have corresponds pretty well to Bitcoin price. It continues to be the case. I wrote an article this week that was fairly popular. I got a lot of followers as a result of that. I was predicting 1,600 by this time. As of last week. So it did a lot better than that. So I guess it depends on the strength of my next article. But I'm going to say higher just because it has been trending upward. It's been, I'll say, let's keep going and follow me.
You got to keep writing articles so the price of Bitcoin will go up. Follow @JimmySong. Links are below. Moving on to issue 4. Bitcoin down under. Following Japan's recent regulation and recognition of Bitcoin, Australia has finally corrected their tax laws to exempt Bitcoin from onerous double taxation. Bitcoin and online gaming currency will now be treated just like Australian dollars for tax purposes. Are we about to see another run similar to the one caused by Japan? Is Bitcoin headed for mainstream adoption in Australia? Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. You know, first Japan and now Australia. They're just kind of making Bitcoin legal tender, removing the tax problems, the tax complications with it. And so I see this as a positive sign for Bitcoin, and for, you know, like we spoke about in previous shows, how Bitcoin is the world is now beginning to have a conversation about Bitcoin, and it seems to be going well because of these type of regulations. These are positive regulations for Bitcoin, and I hope that this kind of stuff comes to the U.S. I hope the IRS can start following in suit and following in place, and maybe learn some things, learn some lessons, maybe watch some Andreas Antonopoulos videos and learn a few things. So I hope that this type of stuff continues, and we really have to go soft. I guess they say go soft on the regulation, right? We really have to not constrain Bitcoin with regulation, because this is the new financial system. This is the technology that's going to change everybody's lives. So we have to, like the internet, make sure we have a soft touch on regulation, and stifle it in its, you know, in its infancy. And so, you know, as even Andreas pointed out in the Australian Senate, like, you know, anything can be used as a tool for criminals, right? Criminals use shoes, criminals use water. We can't make everything illegal that criminals use. But Bitcoin, like the internet, you know, started out with scary intent, right? Like there was cyberspace. The predators are going to get your children from cyberspace. Everybody watch out. There was always fear and things that we don't understand yet. But that gets wiped away with time and with education. And so this should be no different. And yeah, I see positive regulation for Bitcoin coming across the world with these types of things.
It's about time we had a call for a ban on shoes. Blake Anderson.
Only gonna be a bunch of blokes and Sheilas are gonna be real happy about their new currency. They're gonna be throwing shrimps on the barbie and yeah, that's my technical assessment of what's gonna go on down under. They'll probably end up making a lot of money from it, and then unfortunately ruining their own lives because of the amount of money that they've made. So that's my very, very serious and technical response to that. I mean, no, I think it's great. I think that being given direction and making sure that it's not double taxed is amazing. And I guess I don't really have a whole lot else to say about that.
Dire predictions for the Aussies. Jimmy Song.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say exactly how it'll affect Australians. I mean, you'd have to be Australian and live there to know exactly how it's going to affect you. But I mean, for me, this is a good test bed for the U.S. I see it kind of like Litecoin with Segwit, right? It's a place where we can sort of test things out and see how this works. And if it works well, I think it could come over to the U.S. and, you know, that we can make it. Another thing for me to think, just sort of pontificate about is if Australians start using Bitcoin sort of as their savings vehicle instead of banks, maybe that could be a very good thing, and that sort of thing can spread elsewhere as well. You know, yeah, I mean, it's good to have more investment vehicles, and, you know, like movies and other products that get tested in Australia first before they're, you know, sent to the U.S. You know, the same thing with Bitcoin and regulation. It's a great test bed. I hope it goes well.
Could be a model economy. Tone Vays. So slow to push that mute button. Just reach up and push it.
No, it's not. It was a little more complicated than that.
You sound like me. I'm trying to rationalize my own problems here. Don't bandwagon.
Yeah, I don't know. Google's been weird, but I am happy they brought back the lower third. That's why I was able to get a little creative and breaking all kinds of rules here on the World Crypto Network. Okay, so the tax thing in Australia. So, I mean, the tax itself is stupid. It's like the value-added tax. You're not adding any value by making everything more expensive for your citizens, so that you have the value and then you kind of, you know, squander it and create more rules and regulations so you can create more and more taxes. Now, it'll probably help Bitcoin a little bit. It's not going to make that much of a difference because, remember, the majority of profitable Bitcoin operations rely outside of the regulated to begin with. So it'll help a little bit. I don't think it'll make that much of a difference when it comes to Bitcoin. But anything's good. I mean, I would love to see this tax removed from all goods, not just Bitcoin. And stupid tax system on Bitcoin. I really wish they treated it more like a currency and not tax it. And well, I mean, Canada has much better rules. You can walk up to an ATM in Canada and you can buy up to $10,000 without any identification and any KYC. So being a local Bitcoin dealer or an ATM operator in Bitcoin in Canada is much better than the US right across the border. I just came back from there, so I'm a little more aware of what's going on with Bitcoin in Canada.
Moving on to the exit question. Many countries have flirted with Bitcoin, but which one will adopt Bitcoin next? Jeffrey Jones.
It's pretty hard to say. All you got to really do, I guess, is look at all the volume in the local Bitcoins to figure out at least where Bitcoin is wanted the most. No idea, but I can tell you that it's not going to be very much longer before more and more governments choose to make good regulations for Bitcoin and eventually are going to start holding Bitcoin like they hold gold. So we're only a couple years away from that.
Blake Anderson.
Gold is becoming the poor man's Bitcoin. So, you know, don't get left behind. Who said that? Was that Max Kaiser that said that? Every time we talk about Max Kaiser on the show, people get really happy about that. People are like, yes, talk more about him. Send a lot of people to his, you know. So, okay, maybe I should not invoke that name, but that's all I have to say about that.
Jimmy Song.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a little bit of a dark horse. I'm going to say Singapore because it has a lot of the same similar like sort of cultural things as Japan and Korea. And once it catches fire, that's you know, it's a lot of kindling over there that will burn. So that's my gut instinct there.
Tone Vays.
I don't know. I'm always partial towards Estonia. They seem to be the only country that really understands technology and how to streamline stuff. So I think that'll be a surprise. I'm going to go with Estonia.
The real surprise is the answer is Russia. Moving on to issue 4, MtGox comeback. With the price of Bitcoin rising and MtGox's trustees still holding on to more than 200,000 Bitcoin, an unprecedented situation is about to occur. If the Bitcoin price rises to $2,900, the trustees of MtGox will be able to repay their customers in full. Blake Anderson, your thoughts on this absolutely stunning turn of events?
You know what? I'm just going to have to pass on this one. I didn't sleep last night, and I've now become just so tired that I can't even focus my eyes. So I'm just going to go ahead and pass instead of lose my train of thought in the middle of what I'm saying.
Jimmy Song.
Case bankruptcy actually turned out to be a good thing, right? Like it's you know, because it's taken many years, it's had time to wait for Bitcoin to appreciate to this point. I mean, a lot of people will get some free money. So, I mean, I have a feeling this isn't going to be exactly great for the price because you're getting 200,000 Bitcoins that were previously not in the liquidity pool, just sort of added to the supply. You know, that said, like Mark Karpeles has stated that he doesn't want Bitcoin to rise because he doesn't want to get sued personally, right? Like if back, then he's going to have. And what's going to end up happening is that people are going to end up suing him personally. I mean, this might be a model for other bankruptcies, like just keep some Bitcoin in a trust, and if something bad happens, just wait until Bitcoin rises to the point where you can pay everyone back. I don't know. It's my thought.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's tragic. It's crazy. You know, so much of the money has been eaten up by lawyers already, and you know, all these people have been waiting years and years. I don't see these people ever getting their Bitcoin back, and you know, it's a sad thing. You know, we've seen this and tried to improve upon this, right? Bitfinex created their own token to try to make the whole thing solvent again. And that seemed to be a success. We'll see if regulators come back on the future and come down hard on them, but we hope not. So this is going to continue to happen. We're going to continue to try to improve our systems, improve our security so that hacks don't happen. But of course, hacks are are always going to happen. So at some point, we're going to have to create better plans. And the Bitfinex model is one model that we can try in the future. But even that's going to not, that's not sustainable for a long time. So I hope that we continue to invent new ways to make investors whole. But you guys, you got to leave your coins off the exchange back up to a Trezor. Everybody needs to buy a Trezor or a Ledger or whatever the most amazing hardware wallet is these days. We got a bunch of them now to choose from because security has improved a lot since MtGox in the Bitcoin space, but yet still we have huge $70 million hacks and things like Bitfinex. And so, this type of stuff isn't going away. You guys have to really plan for this, make this a part of your portfolio. So store as much Bitcoin as possible off the exchange, and hope this never happens to you.
And the idea is also that they're being restored with their fiat value at the time of the crash, right? They're not getting the gain in Bitcoin. So there is a certain loss here. If you had a lot of Bitcoins on that exchange and now you're calculating how much they're worth, you're not getting that amount. You're getting the at time of theft amount. So
that's right.
It's not that great a restoration.
Right.
Tone Vays, are you back with us? No, time for a new computer. Exit question. Who has the better chance for reconciliation with the Bitcoin community? Mark Karpellis or Roger Ver? Blake Anderson, care to give a choice on the opinion question?
God, that's a tough choice to make. I think that the material damage of what Karpellis did was worse. I think that the damage that Roger is causing, he's aware of and doesn't care. So they kind of tie because those are both not good. So I'm going to say tie.
Jimmy Song.
It really depends what you mean by the Bitcoin community, right? Nobody really needs to reconcile. Bitcoin doesn't care, right? Like you own Bitcoin, you could be the biggest scumbag to everybody. You own Bitcoin, you still have cash. This is a feature, not a bug, right? If you had to be a saint to own Bitcoin, nobody would own it. So I don't really know what that question really means. Karpellis was a terrible businessman and had no idea how to run things securely. But as long as you have some Bitcoins, you don't really need to play nice. It's the whole thing assumes sort of adversarial conditions. I don't think either of those guys needs to reconcile with anybody. They're free to do whatever they want to do. I really don't think Bitcoin cares.
Tone Vays, back with us or just an image?
I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
for
Go
now.
ahead, Tone.
Okay, yeah, no, I can't get video. It's anyway, it's just like Blake having having issues with Google here. So quick thing on the MtGox. I actually like this story. I would like to see Mark Karpellis get out of legal trouble, and it's a beautiful loophole, right? Like you lose 60% of the Bitcoin, you hold on to the other 20-25% of the Bitcoin and not distribute it to people because of an outside lawsuit that's suing them for $75 million, where Karpellis claims that no, they actually owe us $5 million. We don't owe them 75; they owe us 5. So that lawsuit held up the distribution of the 200,000 Bitcoin that they magically found. But like all of these lawsuits, just like with Bitfinex, the moment shit hits the fan, you denominated it in fiat money, and that's how much you owe people. And they, as far as I remember, they locked in the amount of money that they owed their customers at a price of like $480 per Bitcoin or something like that. So now that the value of a Bitcoin is $1,700, so the value of a Bitcoin went up like 4 times. So they're almost whole, but then that 75 million lawsuit is like weird. So this would be great. So that means that if the price of Bitcoin goes up to like $2,100, MtGox can pay back everyone.
I thought it was 2,900 something.
It depends upon the results of the lawsuit. If they have to pay
Right.
the 75 million, it's 29. If they don't have to pay it, it's around 24, I think.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
It's on the lawsuit. It's confusing.
So that would be great. So it would be awesome if MtGox becomes solvent before what's his name, Mark Karpellis' criminal trial, and then they pay everyone back, and now Karpellis can just walk away scot-free. And honestly, I think that would be okay as long as he's not the one that actually took the Bitcoin. And I've done some research on that situation, and he was scammed by the Ripple guy. I always screw up his name, even though I have a whole podcast about him. So, but Jed McCaleb, right?
Allegedly.
No, it's not allegedly. There's like email communications back and forth where Mark Karpellis is asking him, "Hey, where's the 80,000 Bitcoin?" And Jeb tells him, "You can just go and buy it, or you can mine it. It's not there." It was insane. And yeah, so it's really cool. And what was your other question?
Always check under the cat. That's where the Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
The follow-up question, who has the better chance for reconciliation, Mark Karpellis or Roger Ver?
Oh, no, definitely Mark Karpellis. Because most of the people that lost money in that were really, really old Bitcoiners. Like, I didn't even lose money in that. Like, that shows you that I'm not even an old-time Bitcoiner. I don't think anyone on this panel lost any money. Maybe Jimmy. I don't know. Jimmy, did Karpellis get anything from you?
I did, yeah. It wasn't very much, but I did, yeah.
Right. So, Mark, I mean, most of the people that are in crypto right now, they don't even know Mark Karpellis ever existed. So it's always like the last guy that gave them it's like, I mean, I'm sure someone else is going to come around that's going to be more hated than Roger Ver eventually. But all the hatred usually goes to like the last enemy. And very, very few people will do that, because by now you have to understand that by keeping your money on an exchange, it will get hacked. And I'm sorry that you had to be the guinea pig to show the rest of the world, but it's also obvious the rest of the world didn't learn, because we're still seeing people constantly lose their money. I can already tell you who's probably going to be the bigger enemy when when the whole thing with Roger ends. Something like Poloniex just disappearing and taking everybody's money would become the most hated recent. I'm not saying it will be Poloniex, but something like that incident will then become the next most hated person, and then that would change also.
I have to say I'm very surprised by this story, and I'm actually kind of rooting for it. It would be great if Bitcoin went to 2,900. I remember a lot of stories of early Bitcoin investors like waitresses and just kind of normal people who had the foresight to put $100 in early, or somebody tapped them on a plane on the airplane and said, "Hey, put $1,000 in this Bitcoin thing." They did it. They left their money in MtGox. It was worth maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars, life-changing amounts of money to these people, and they lost it all. And even if they don't get the gains of recent Bitcoin, just to get them back their money and make them whole would be an incredible end to this story. Jeffrey Jones, your thoughts on Roger Ver versus Mark Karpellis?
Yeah, so I mean, like Jimmy said, and like a lot of people say, Bitcoin doesn't care, right? I mean, Bitcoin's the honey badger that doesn't care. But no, I didn't lose anything on Gox. I definitely traded on Gox at one point, but as soon as they stopped allowing fiat withdrawals, I was out. And then, of course, later on, about 6 months later, they stopped allowing Bitcoin withdrawals. And so at that point, it became Gox coin. That was basically the only thing that was being traded on there. And so, that was definitely kind of crazy. And, I remember being there the evening that the MtGox kicker, or the MtGox ticker stopped. Like, I was there. Like, it was very surreal. I just remember thinking to myself, like, wow, this can't be happening. This is going to be pretty cool. And of course, it wasn't great. It induced a 2-year bear market, but it was crazy. It was, I think a lot of people felt the same thing, very surreal. And, but remember, Karpellis apologized, right? He actually apologized and served sentence, served some time. And then now he's out there pretty much in public, like answering people's questions. Like, multiple people have interviewed him since he's gotten out of jail, including, I think, Christy Rose had an interview with him. I mean, just this guy is trying to he understands that that he made a mistake, and he's trying to rectify. He's trying to help. And so, that's definitely a completely different story than what we see with Roger. Roger has delayed Segwit for over a year now and continues to push a centralized agenda on a decentralized system, right? Just the other day, he tweeted out something about it will be centralized, and it's like, what? Centralized? You want to bring in a president and a CEO to Bitcoin? What the hell is more centralized than that? Like, just complete antithesis. I don't understand how he can justify this and in his mind, or rationalize this in his mind. But of course, at this point, he might be acting irrationally. So a lot of people are kind of speculating that as well. And I criticize Roger all the time on Twitter. I just try to mostly kind of correct the lies that he says, because a lot of times the stuff that he says is not 100% true. And so I do like to kind of correct that to make sure that at least some truth is getting out there to kind of counter his beliefs, and maybe he's believing his own lies these days, but I try to counter some of his tweets. But, at the end of the day, if Bitcoin can be overtaken by any single entity, right, then Bitcoin has failed as an experiment. An actor can take it down. And so far we've been seeing that happen. We've been seeing Bitcoin completely kind of deflect all of this craziness that's been being constantly bombarded with between Roger and Segwit and the scaling debate, and now of course this malware that's been proliferating today through 75 countries. I mean,
did you see Roger's tweet where he implied that the Bitcoin core team didn't understand economics? He didn't consider that he doesn't understand computer science and programming. It was that the Bitcoin core team doesn't understand economics. And so I don't reply to him like almost ever, but I had to reply. So I just said, the appropriate words for you to speak to the core team are thank you. They need your input from the bottom rung of the Dunning-Kruger effect, like they need assholes on their elbows. And that was my entire, but that's exactly what I wanted to say. And I didn't want to not say it. And I guess it didn't generate as much blowback as I thought it would, which is, I don't know if he reads the Facebook interactions on his Twitter,
wow.
But he should be, because my God.
He pays attention. No, he pays attention to all the social media. I mean, like, he's right there on point with Reddit. Like, he just commented on me the other day on Reddit. I try to say that, basically the BTC, the BTC.top, and a couple other ones were all basically owned and operated, by Roger. I mean, not operated, but they all have a piece of Roger in there somewhere. I tried to make that claim. Of course, I have no proof, but I mean, it's kind of obvious at this point. And of course, Roger just jumped in there right away within a few minutes saying, that's not true, Vortex. So I mean, he's on point with it. He knows what the hell he's doing. He's got a very specific agenda he's trying to push, and he's making no bones about it. He's tagging all of these people that he wants to listen to him, and we need to do the same thing. We on our people that Roger tags, so that we can all be in the same conversation here, because it seems like Roger is in a different conversation than we are. I don't understand. We're trying to meet halfway, and Roger is claiming all of these ludicrous and eccentric things. So I think that we need to just continue to tag the people that Roger tags, and hopefully we'll start syncing up on the information.
I think he's his own worst enemy, dude. He's hurling bricks in a glass house, and everybody can see him doing it. Everyone's like, Jeepers Creepers, pal.
Yeah, so sorry, Thomas, to answer the question, at this point, Roger is way worse, but completely unprecedented, really, in Bitcoin as a threat, an existential threat to Bitcoin. And I hope that he eventually sees this one day and tries to rectify his wrongs.
It's also worth noting on the MtGox situation that a lot of people had bad feelings about the exchange. A lot of people tried to take their money out early, but from what we understand from the situation, they weren't allowing large withdrawals, but they were allowing small withdrawals. So someone like myself was able to take off the $100 or so I had on there, whereas if you had larger amounts, you may have been stuck there and going through a technical support nightmare. And just
I avoided all those problems. Like from day one, from early 2013, I never once considered going to an exchange. I just always use local Bitcoins. That's what I've always advised people to do.
I feel bad though too.
Traders got to trade, right?
I did the same thing, but what I would do, since 80% of trading was going on at MtGox, I would post their ticker, their branded ticker, all the time. And one of the people that was my followers, Jeff, I think his name was, lost a lot of money in MtGox. And I'm not happy about that. I need to be more careful in the future not to be seen endorsing in any way, shape, or form anywhere that people could leave their coins. So I know I did make a video that came out and said that there was no solvency issues, but I still feel bad even just, sharing that ticker so often that people saw that associated with me and went and invested. So that's the level of carefulness that you really want to have when you're giving people any level of advice in this space, because good advice can be really good advice and bad advice can be really bad advice.
And like Jeffrey said, it was incredibly surreal when the MtGox ticker stopped. It was just frozen there. A lot of different apps on the iPhone used it as their source for the Bitcoin price. CoinDesk used it as their source. It was before they had their BPI index. A lot of things changed after that. People stopped relying on a single exchange. We got multiple Bitcoin exchanges. The ecosystem has evolved and gotten better. So we've survived it. Moving on to predictions or story of the week. Blake Anderson, are you ready with a prediction or story of the week?
Yeah, I mean, just this week, I was looking for a movie to watch with my wife, and most movies are pretty long and they're pretty boring. And so instead of watching a movie, we're like, let's try to find a new intellectual to learn about. And so we started watching Jordan Peterson videos, and that guy is just an absolute force of nature. His ability to articulate complex ideas is just mind-blowing. I'm not exaggerating at all. I watched this guy talk for 6 hours last night at double speed and didn't get bored at all. And I get bored very, 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 very easily. So the ability for him to articulate things which hold attention is amazing. And I think that a lot of people in the Bitcoin space should not only practice articulation, but should listen to other people that are very, very articulate and learn how to sharpen your debate skills, because being able to articulate the truth is, to quote him directly, is how we save the world from hell. Not being able to articulate the truth properly is a big, big, big systemic problem. So I'm not going to ramble about that too much, but go out there, articulate your truth. Don't be afraid to say what you mean, even if you're ignorant or wrong. People will tell you that, and then you'll be able to be less ignorant or wrong the next time. And that is just so vital to the way that we improve the world. And I guess my story of the week is just that I watched lots and lots of this guy talk, and if I didn't get bored, I'm sure that you probably won't get bored.
A very interesting speaker, and I'm interested to watch more. Jimmy Song, story of the week.
Sure. My story of the week is the altcoin frenzy. There's speculators right now in altcoins that most of them know what these coins are. I've been in this space for a long time. I've examined a lot of coins, and even I don't know what most of these coins do. And even if you know some cursory things about it, it's really hard to know like the guts and details without studying it extensively. I've been doing that on Monero recently. I've suddenly got a lot more respect for those guys. Anyway, the biggest part of this, the thing that sort of illustrates this altcoin frenzy for me is what Steam Dollar trades at on Poloniex. It is trading currently at what's equivalent to about $1. Funny thing is that it's supposed to be pegged to the dollar a lot like Tether. There's a reserve of Steam that gets sold every time it rises above $1, and there's some Steam that gets bought whenever it goes below $1. The fact that it is this far off $1 tells you everything that you need to know about these altcoins. I believe this is a very frothy situation, and a lot of people are going to be very, very sad.
Tone Vays has got the charts ready to go.
Yes. So Jimmy, you said that perfectly well. I've been talking about the altcoin bubble for a while now, so I don't have to talk about it today. Today is Friday. We have 2 more days. We will see. Bitcoin is is starting to get to a very critical point, and let's see how this weekly candle turns out. But so far, this still looks fairly well. I mean, there's no FOMO like in early 13 or in late 13. Still looks pretty clean. The daily chart is where there is a bit of an issue. This is the Bitstamp price, quite a bit above my trend channel. So it would be perfectly reasonable for it to pull back. But I find it, I normally draw this down arrow all the way down, and if the altcoin market wasn't, as frothy as it is, I probably would have drawn this arrow down all the way to 1,400, maybe even 1,300.
What do you mean? What do you mean frothy? What does that mean?
Get ready to pop the altcoin bubble.
Okay.
It just means it's getting kind of high. And same thing here with Bitfinex. Bitfinex didn't go quite as high above the channel. Again, normally I would draw this down arrow, so I may regret it by not drawing this down arrow yet, but I can always draw it on Sunday when I do this, when I do my technical video. On a shorter term chart, you're watching these two lines right here. Once we go below this guy, which is at about 1675 on Bitfinex, it's a time to worry a little bit. And on the upside, if we go back up above 1800 on Bitfinex, then I think we're fine, and then it's business as usual. Right now, the current environment looks identical to the environment around May 5th, going into May 6th. You have that second low, you came down, you hit the longer term moving average, and now you're reversing back up. So I'm still generally bullish Bitcoin.
I'm very glad that Google gave us back lower thirds, but it's unfortunate we seem to be testing a beta version of Hangouts today that crashes on its own randomly. So great job, guys. Keep working on that. Jeffrey Jones, you're back with us as well.
Yep, just crashed as we speak. So now I have no lower third, and I can't turn it back on. So that's fun.
Where's your lower third? You're supposed to have a lower third, dude.
Yeah, I got my lower third back, but it's not recognizing my HD camera. So now I'm back to the laptop camera.
My camera took a shit too, and I had to go turn off all my wireless devices and restart my computer.
So clearly we're beta testing, as Thomas says. We are beta testing the latest version of Google Hangouts here live on the World Crypto Network. So mine just crashed and I have no lower third. But anyway, I guess I didn't really have too much of a story of the week other than like similar to what Jimmy says about the altcoins. These ICOs, man, these ICOs are just selling out, in millions and millions of dollars in freaking minutes. And there's clearly a demand right now for these types of things. But I mean, I don't think the demand knows what the hell it wants, because it's investing in nothing but crap coins and all of these things. And that you really have to be careful. So I just kind of want to issue a PSA to these ICOs. Be very careful, because these ICOs are a dime a dozen now. They're just everywhere, and they're all claiming to do amazing, spectacular, extraordinary things, right? And so just be aware of extraordinary claims, and be aware of these ICOs. And that's about it.
And hold your own coins. I just like to, for my story of the week this week, I just like to thank everyone for wishing me a happy birthday. If you'd like to donate a few bits to my book buying fund, you can go ahead and use the QR code on the screen right now. It is indeed, you can go and pause it too if you want. I don't want to leave it too long. It is indeed my birthday, and I just went shopping at the bookstore earlier today. I got a Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. I never say his name right, but he wrote Fight Club. And this is about a person in hell with a motley crew of young sinners, including a cheerleader, a jock, a nerd, and a punk rocker, all united by their doomed fate, like a breakfast club of the damned. So that just sounded great. I'm going to read that later. And then I got this. It was kind of expensive. It was like $20. It's Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, a nice big folio edition. One of the first books I ever read as a child. Great story of pirates and adventure on the seas. So thanks so much for everyone for watching. We had 363 live viewers. That's amazing. Everyone's giving us a thumbs up and a comment. I'm going to go read the chat and see how we did. But thanks so much. I appreciate you guys. And we're out of time. Until next time, bye-bye.
Hasta luego.